Yeah, I'm wonderfully excited, of course. This is the once in a lifetime opportunity, I would almost say. We have Felix here, Felix from Felix Coffee in St. Pölten near Vienna. I'm very, very happy to have you here. Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's as I said, it's not often that we get the chance to talk to fellow Austrians. Austria as a country, as we all know, is very small. About 9 million people live there, and it feels like more people drink coffee. So, but it is a coffee country, I would say. But we want to dig in a little bit. Like, is it also a specialty coffee country, and what's going on in like on the Austrian landscape, as well as on the international stage, because that's part of why we have you here, Felix. You won the roasting championship, and we also want to talk a little bit about that. So with that in mind, Felix, you want to talk a little bit about you, give us a little bit of background on who you are, how you grew up in general or in coffee, and let's start from there.
So yeah, hi, I'm Felix. We are here in our roastery in St. Pölten, capital city of Lower Austria. It's about a 1 hour drive to Vienna, so close to a big city. As you can see, this is my big machine. This is the one with everything started with. And there is another one back there, a small one. So this is,
Nice.
yeah, this is my place, and this is where the magic happens. So yeah, how I started almost 11 years ago. In May, it's 11 years. I started with my roastery. Maybe just go a bit more back. I wanted to be a piano teacher back in the days, so from childhood on, I guess. And then I noticed that I didn't really like to practice that much. So I really loved playing it, but I didn't like to practice. So I quit it and just did a job just to earn money, selling cell phones, super boring job. And yeah, I quit the job because I got a job offered for a company that was selling espresso machines, a big brand espresso machine for bars and restaurants. So it was an Italian brand, and yeah, I jumped into the second wave of coffee and was really caught. Like, you know, going to Italy, to the factory, seeing all these Italian style machines, seeing the Italian autogrills, panini espresso. So this was kind of my world. And so while doing that work, was kind of there was some kind of developing a dream to have my own Italian coffee shop, my Italian espresso bar. And I opened it then with help from my boss back then in Krems, another city near St. Pölten. And so, yeah, but when I opened it, it was about 2007 or 2008, yeah, something like that. And so I found I think in the first week I opened the espresso bar, I found some green beans in a supermarket, and not high quality. So as I remember, it was just a kilo of green beans in plastic sack, transparent, and you could see about half of the bag was kind of partial black or maybe full black or sour. So it was really not a good quality. But I threw it in the popcorn maker, and yeah, next dream was already built to have my own roastery. And so I bought a home roasting machine and did several tests. I just took the brand, the Italian brand espresso coffee I had in my bar, in one hand, looked at it and roasted it. Like, yeah, it just looked like that. And so yeah, I tried it in the espresso machine and it tastes good. So I went further with tests and did everything. I drank at home with my family. I roasted in the home roaster. And so yeah, 3 years later, I did a roasting workshop in Germany, in Luxembourg, to be special. And yeah, it was 2012. Yeah, when I opened the roastery lately in St. Pölten. It was built in a small cafe in St. Pölten. And a few years later, after 4 years, we had to rent out because it was growing and yeah, space was not enough there. So yeah, we went into a new building, and here we are. So 2019, I did maybe a really game changer for myself. I did a Q grader, Arabica Q grader,
Nice.
and it was kind of really having a new focus or new like side of view to coffee, especially coffee. And I already was doing lighter roasts and everything like that. So that kind of developed very fast in the first 3 years of roasting. But after the Q, I really got more focused on quality, on sourcing coffees. So yeah, then I won the first Austrian Coffee Roasting Championship. Went to Milan in November 2019 to the Worlds, and that was quite great experience, seeing all that other competitors and talking to them and learning from them. So yeah, I ended up not too bad. Went there for not losing, kind of that. Well, but there has to be said that these are all champions. So even the last place is still champion who took part in the world's competition. But from 23 competitors, I was placed 20. And yeah, so I wasn't happy with that result, to be honest. And yeah, then there were the pandemic situation all over the planet. So I did my thing on roasting and for my clients and focused more on my development. And when there was 2022, we had the second Austrian Coffee Roasting Championship, and yeah, I won it again. And so I trained really hard for the Worlds because I really wanted to be somewhere in the front, and luckily, I did it.
You came out in the very, very front.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
That was
That's
really cool.
amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Well, you talked a little bit about the journey, right? From that green bag of coffee from the supermarket, which is very unusual, by the way. It's not that I mean, I have never seen that in Austria, and I've been to supermarkets, of course.
Never seen it in the States either.
Yeah, in the States, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not seen them actually anywhere. So this is cool that this was there, especially because it ties into your story and it ties into your history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but now
definitely.
you're somewhere very different from what you are roasting, and I would like to learn a little bit more about that journey for you, but also how to take the journey with your customers, because ultimately that's you need them to follow along or to support and learn also.
Yeah, well, that is maybe the biggest challenge, as lots of roasters maybe know. So if I started with the kind of darker roasts, so Italian style, that was my thing. So people really like the coffees, and then it turns out that I really preferred the lighter roast when I went to World of Coffees and saw all these good roasters and yeah, try the coffees. I really wanted to do something similar. So I bought lots of bags of coffees from different coffee shops and did tests and tried to roast just by optics. Yeah, maybe I should mention that I roasted the first 1.5 or 2 years without any software. So I just did notes making. And I really was motivated to do some kind of drawings. I never did it. So, and then I started to roast with Cropster, so just to say that. And so all my trainings and my searching for new quality was kind of recorded, so I could easily go for that. Just to mention that. I would have mentioned that even it's any other podcast too. Yeah, so I tried to reach like flavors I tasted in other roasteries. And first I just roasted lighter, and people said, "Why, man, that's totally sour. I don't like it." I said, "No, it's not sour. It's fruity." And yeah, it was actually sour. I just had to learn to like develop the coffees better. And it's still hard to show people the true flavors of coffee and why we do that. But we started 4 years ago to doing a booth on the farmers market in our city, where we first had 2 grinders, one with more traditional roast and one lighter roast. And obvious choice for people was always the traditional roast. So I just skipped one grinder and put what I wanted to in the grinder without asking. And it wasn't that the problem, because lots of beverages were just milk beverages like cappuccino or latte or flat white. So, and we really tried to focus on ratios for double espresso, but this is still very unusual in Austria. People are still afraid of a double espresso, and the single espresso is kind of difficult to have a very good single espresso if you have a light roast. So yeah, you have to do like 2 on a double portafilter, then it's good. But so yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that because in the States, when you ask for espresso, it's automatically double. Here, right in Austria, when you ask for espresso, it's like a single. Like they verify if you want a single or a double, which is never experienced that before.
That's really like an Austrian phenomenon. And when I first went to a coffee shop in UK, I went in and said an espresso, and they put just the double portafilter in, and I got a double espresso, and I was, oh, no, sorry, I want a single. Single? We don't have that. They really. So I was first time, okay, what's that? It's new. So I figured out that for myself, I wouldn't have drank double espresso when I had the dark roast. But for the light roast, it's, as you probably know, way more easy to enjoy double espresso. So yeah, this is what we try on the farmers market, because there we have direct contact to the customers, and you see there is a development. And we offer a batch brew. There are still a few clients who really want to have a little shot of milk and sugar in a washed Kenyan, but it is how it is. I'm not complaining. I just really try to ask people for just having one sip, just take a sip and try. So, and really it's going forward. So yeah.
That's how you meet your customers kind of halfway. So you let them have the drop of milk if they at least try.
One sip, please. So yeah, most of the time, but even a batch brew, this is really developing good. People really enjoy it. And sometimes you see people are coming into the market, and they asking for, oh, you're a roastery, and you have good coffee, so I want to try, but I'm not sure about what I should try. Any recommendation? And ask you, how do you drink your coffee at home? And sometimes they tell me, I'm afraid to say it, but I'm using filter coffee. So it's still kind of, You see, the industry is kind of pushing to espresso. And lots of people are now changing from filter to fully automatic machines. And now we tell them, no, go back to filter. So it's kind of surprising. But yeah, you see people are interested, and that's what I figured out on the farmers market.
Just out of curiosity, do you like the idea of coffee house, from what I've understood, comes from Vienna, comes from Austria, but the world now the world usually doesn't think about like Viennese coffee culture as like a leading specialty coffee culture in the world and whatnot. But I'm wondering, do you ever attribute any of like your curiosity, or like do you ever feel like you've been influenced by what's happened, like the coffee culture in Vienna? I mean, I just find it interesting because when you walk around like the Volksgarten, they have the green coffee bags around all the in the park there, which I thought was like interesting. Yeah. So I mean, so obviously like the city and like Austria has this like history of coffee that I feel like a lot of people, I mean me, I just don't think about it. But I'm wondering if you feel that you've been influenced by that in any way.
Yeah, maybe as a kid. So I was always happy on Sunday to prepare coffee for my parents. So that was kind of the coffee house feeling. We've never been to that place so much, but I knew that were coffee houses, and you saw it in television, in old movies. The coffee house was always like a celebrating thing. And so, yeah, but actually really influenced, I got later than by the Italian style espresso bars. That was moving. Even in the Vienna coffee houses, there was some Italian influence, and that was maybe more influence for me back then.
Yeah, I found it also I find it very interesting that there's this big Viennese coffee house culture, and people are talking about it around the globe. But I think it's the coffee house culture. It's not the coffee house culture. So it's the I think the emphasis is on culture and what's going on with it. Like, it's a meeting place, it's a cultured place, it's a nice place to go. It's, as you said, you can celebrate there, but you can also go there for it, like a first date or a 250th date, or a talk with friends, and like have this space. I think that's more to me. And then all the sweets you get there, it's beautiful, all the cakes,
And the lunch. So
and you can eat there, exactly. So but the coffee was not the main attraction, but it was, of course, helping. Like, I think it was a catalyst for those conversations. So people had coffee, got a little bit of caffeine, we're happy, and the conversation happened. So, I don't know.
yeah, as you said.
And I think that's versus when you look at, like, globally, right? The US is based more on a McDonald's coffee culture, which is like, grab it in the morning on a drive-through, and you just need it for the kick, and you have this like really big beverage which gets you through the first 2 hours of your day. That's very, very different, and I think that's why it was so much easier in the US to see what specialty coffee can be, because it was so totally different. And in Austria, it kind of it's mixed in. It's not, so the coffee was not super low on quality. It wasn't good, right? And it's sometimes still isn't. But towards the like lower end of specialty, it's not that far, and that's why I think you have to work extra hard to.
Yeah, I mean, in Austria, you see, even from maybe Innsbruck to Vienna, big differences. So when I was working for the Italian espresso brand, so for the machines in the coffee houses, for example, you saw that there are in Vienna, for instance, we had lots of traditional espresso machines. If you looked to the west and to Innsbruck, for example, you saw lots of fully automatic machines in the bars and restaurants. So this was kind of different influence, maybe from Germany down. So it's kind of really mixed up in Austria. So this is best thing that especially coffee is like telling one story all over the country. So
Yeah. So how has the landscape changed in general? Do you think it's growing? Do you think it's where's it going?
Oh yeah, definitely. As you see, lots of popping up roasteries in different sizes and different what they offer. But you see that there's really kind of movement. And of course, the coffee shops are opening, and some of the coffee shops that were opening years ago are now starting to roast. So this is kind of thing too. And yeah, you see there is really, it's increasing. And the specialty scene is increasing. That's really good.
But there's a lot of hope. And
looking back to 2012, we had this Vienna, not the Vienna Coffee Festival, it was the World of Coffee in Vienna. So I was there working on this booth for the espresso machines, but not really noticing that there was the World of Coffee. So I think lots of people had no idea in Vienna what this is about. I was in El Salvador a few weeks ago, and I met Lily Packers, and she told me, yeah, I was in Vienna back then, but I was really surprised about the coffee because it was not good. And another farmer too, from Vividero, Mauricio, he told me, I was back then in Vienna. It was a great city, but the coffee wasn't good. So I think this was kind of start when really something had to develop back then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot has changed, and those, like, even the Vienna Coffee Festival, as far as I understand, has grown from a very small event on a small footprint to something quite sizable. There's a lot of people interested and noticing that this is happening. And I even saw some regional events popping up, like in where I grew up in Upper Austria. They had like a coffee expo tagged on to something else, but still it gets some space, right? And that's on a regional level. So yes,
I think
there's hope.
This is maybe the key point. I think we have to do it really regional in Austria. So if you are a coffee enthusiast and you do like cuppings or like just coffee tasting, and you have a coffee shop or you have a roastery, you really have to take care of your community around your roastery, of your place. And I think if these spots are getting bigger and then kind of connecting, that would be great. So yeah, I saw this in Upper Austria too. It's kind of really developing there.
Yeah. So your story is in this case a little bit different because you kind of made that jump with that win of the championship. So you had, of course, you have your community and you grew up in that community and you're still very connected there. And when I just went to your website, so you can feel that there's like this very local feel, but it's also quite international. It's like, hey, you're based internationally, so everything is in English, and that's not usual for, I would say, an Austrian web shop. So how's your experience?
Yeah, that's kind of hard because I really don't want to kind of do my local customers like forcing them to speak English. So we have now the two different sites. We did a new web shop. We had to because lots of international questions were asked, and it was orders. So this was quite challenging in a positive way to get this all done. And so new website is online with two different languages. Because we were struggling with doing postings in more German or in English, so it's kind of confusing for ourselves too. So it's not that easy. And you still have the two sites for Instagram, your web page, and Facebook. So these are kind of different people. And for me, it's still hard to take care of everyone. We just try to do it like we do and hope that everything is okay. Yeah, so but this is yeah, it changed a lot and it's still changing and we still are trying to get everything done.
I think that's a very European specific problem. In the US, you would not think about that. You have your English store, and whoever buys there, also international customers, would be okay with English because English is the intermediary language for most people anyway. Now in Europe, you have your local language first, and then you have your international language, which also is English, as we talk to the neighboring countries who do not speak German in English usually. Potentially not exactly the same English we use which is used in the UK or in the US, but it's an intermediary language which works. So that kind of cultural adjustments are quite a unique situation, but it's for all the European countries the same. So you find that everywhere. If you in all those, everybody has their own language, kind of.
Did you kind of expect that when you won though, Felix? Did you? I mean, I don't know. What were your expectations when you won? Did you expect to have a more international kind of like following and curiosity, or did you kind of expect maybe to get more like Austrians kind of like, oh, what is Felix all about? I mean, what did you expect after? I mean, I'm curious.
I mean, yeah, I had no idea what's really going on, but I expected, of course, international orders. So when I won the next day, my partner just dropped a message on the website that international shipping coming soon, just to in English. So just to take care about that. So it was kind of we were kind of preparing for more orders, and of course we really were struggling in getting more coffees because having a very, very rare specialty coffee, we normally had about one bag or maybe two, and like selling them over the months. And now just we're running out of stock, so I really had to like randomly buy coffees all the time, and I had no idea how much I should buy. So this was kind of the one thing. The other thing is that I was kind of I was the Austrian champion winning the worlds. So we don't have that famous specialty scene if you're looking at Europe. You know, the UK, you know, Germany, you know, Switzerland, you know, big Italian roaster, and or Czech Republic, so Denmark and Scandinavia, of course. So you have all these good roasteries, and we have good roasters in Austria, but we're not really known on the planet. So for that, so this was kind of thing where I was thinking about maybe it's going to be hard to take your place internationally. But yeah, it turns out that it is hard, but people are really curious about the coffees. They really want. We send coffees to Shanghai, to Taiwan, to Honolulu. So really all over the planet. It's quite fun.
That's super cool to be able to spread the brand and spread the love all over the globe, and you know, bring the community on this level together.
Yeah, and having feedbacks from these countries is really cool. So, for instance, in El Salvador, I met Mark from Savo Brands, and he drank my coffee in Honolulu in a coffee shop, and gave me feedback that it was tasting good. So, because I'm always, I won't say concerned, but curious about how the coffee tastes in other countries in waters and other like altitudes and so on. So like for instance, moving to Berlin, drinking my coffee, it tastes really different like in Austria. So you have to really take care of, and otherwise but taking Berlin, went in a coffee shop, had a great coffee, put the bag, drank it at home, and it's kind of different. Or Scandinavian roasteries, great if you taste it there, and yeah, you really have to care about the water when drinking it at home. So this is kind of thing too. So I was always concerned about that somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me of one of our episodes where we, you know, had someone in Emirates or Saudi Arabia, and getting coffees from Nordic countries, which just works very, very differently based on water, based on environment, and you really had to adjust a lot of parameters. So I think your concern is very, very true for that, and I think that's a general concern for many, I would say, international operations, how to serve your product consistently. Now, with you, it's a little bit different because people are adventurous. They want to taste different things. So I think there's certain openness to do that. But if you would now open your, like, let's say you open a coffee house in, somewhere in Asia, you would want to dial in your product very specifically.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, super cool. That's that's very, very interesting. Felix, where do you go? Where do you go from here? I mean, so you have come a long way from piano player to coffee technician, espresso machine technician, to roaster, to champion. Where's it going?
I mean, there are some questions about coaching, so that could be a thing that really kind of interests me, because I really like to share knowledge and kind of teach people something. That's what I really like. For sure, developing kind of the roastery. We have to change the way we buy coffees on quantities. We have to think about energy costs, and that every roastery has on the planet, and every other people too. So this is kind of a thing then internationally, how we getting noticed internationally. So this is kind of thing doing marketing. So having decisions made, like being in the origin and want to do kind of a video. I'm not sure about, should I talk in English or in German? So this is kind of the things, more storytelling, because we do a lot, but we don't tell it that much. So we want to let the people more like have a look inside our roastery, because we can't. It's a small place, so people really want to come, and some really just stop by from Czech Republic or even from Taiwan. We had some visitors here. Luckily, I was there. So, but it's kind of, yeah, not really a place to visit. So this is kind of giving the people the possibility to look inside our work, our daily work, and how we do it. This is kind of a thing I really want to do. And yeah, so visiting World of Coffee, of course, that's the goal, and connecting more. Yeah, traveling. I was in Colombia last November, and a few weeks ago in El Salvador. So that was really kind of, yeah, I really enjoyed it, going there, seeing, meeting the farmers, seeing the producers and how they work. And this, yeah, kind of more trainings in the roastery.
It's pretty cool how it comes together, right? You wanted to be a piano teacher. Well, the piano maybe didn't work, but now you will still be able to be a teacher just for something quite different and share what you know. And you know, coffee to me is always there's a lot of, I would say, artistic part to it. So the tasting, the flavors, how it's produced, there's a lot of craft in that. So I think it makes total sense that someone who has an affinity to music is also into coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agree.
That's true. That's true. How do you
see?
No, go
sorry,
for it.
You see that people are really curious about, and there's so many people just really have a lack of information. And even me, I just spotted a few things I didn't know when I come back from Origin, and really have to focus learning them more. So there's so many ways that's kind of thing I really like on my job, because if you work in coffee, that's really kind of moving story. You really are able to learn for the next years. So even every day if you want.
Yeah. You know, it's actually interesting you say I would say you're a pretty curious person as well. And a lot of the champions that we've had on the podcast have that same kind of trait where they're very curious, and they ended up using competition as a platform for their curiosity to kind of learn and become more educated in their craft. More so than it was like, you know, winning the competition. So I'm curious, like, what was your goal when you went to compete? Was it to win, or did you have a different end in mind that you really, something more than winning that you really wanted to gain out of it?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking back to Taipei, the first World's competition for me. I noticed a few things I didn't really understand, and I tasted the coffees from all the competitors in the competitor cupping, of course, and I did my notes, and I was sure I can roast something like that. And I'm roasting kind of that. So I really wanted to understand how I failed back then, and so yeah, I went to Milan to be on the podium somewhere. That was my goal. I wanted to be in the first row. I really trained hard for that. So I even bought in 21, I bought a small Gießen machine just to have the same machine that's then provided to really understand without thinking. I really wanted to roast without thinking anything about how to do it on a machine. I just wanted to be intuitive. So, and yeah, of course I was busy in the roastery too. So I trained at night sometimes, and yeah, took my time to have my tests and everything. So yeah, I really wanted to kind of be in the front. I never expected to win it, because, you know, if you have your kind of, I wouldn't say idol, but I really have a great respect for Simo. He's one of the best roasters in the world, and I was sure he's going to make it this time. And so yeah, I was really surprised when I finally won.
Will you compete again?
No, no. It was really kind of stressing, and yeah, I think there should be really, and I think it's hard to do a second time, and I think there should be place for upcoming roasters in Austria, to have the possibility to go to a world competition to learn. So this all is kind of helping our market to get better.
So what's your message to those fellow roasters in Austria?
Ask me
anywhere.
Ask me questions about everything. So yeah, just drop a message and get in contact. So yeah, of course there were some well, on the Vienna Coffee Festival I met some colleagues and we just were chatting about how it was and everything. But yeah, if somebody really wants to know it, yeah, I'm happy to help.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think if the access is there in Austria and there's more collaboration, I think that in itself will help elevate kind of like the specialty market in Austria and kind of even influence maybe other bordering countries, you know, like Slovakia or Hungary, like, you know, those also countries that like I think there's a lot of interest in specialty coffee, but maybe there's not that kind of structure or guidance yet to elevate the community as well. So
yeah, it was. If you look at the competitions in the past for brewing or for barista, there was really not that often used coffee from a local roaster. So lots of the competitors just took the big names or put coffees from roasteries from all over the world because they had names and had brilliant coffee, and maybe it was not that good in Austria, but for that we had not the chance to develop for competition roasts. So that's why I really try to be on the competition side in the world of coffees on this exhibition to see what's the deal now. Took the coffees and yeah, grabbed some information and tried it at home. So this is kind of thing that really should change. That Austrian competitors should. It is changing slightly. So this would have helped a lot in the past. So, but it's not complaining. It's kind of, I understand it. If you want to compete, you want to win. Of course, you take a coffee, you know you're going to win. But yeah, so that was kind of gap.
yeah.
There's more availability now, right? There's more roasteries going towards that direction. There's more specialty coffee around, and there's people like you who have done it, have gotten that information to also serve. I mean, if someone is, I think now it's very different. Someone really can come and like, hey, Felix, I want to compete. Can we develop something together? And I think they can find a very resourceful and knowledgeable person. And there's a few more. And but with that, more people will dig into what you did, right? Be curious, start to develop. And even if it's like, hey, Felix, can you share half a kilo of some of the exciting coffees with me? Getting that half kilo, sometimes it might be hard. But
yes,
now
sure.
you can. Yeah. Now you can.
Yeah, yeah. So some are really rare, but yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, honestly, a few years back, I just ordered coffees because I really wanted to offer them. I didn't have the clients for that, so there was. I think about it was about maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I had 4 to 5 years ago, I had already 5 different filter coffees in the shop, and it didn't sell well. It was not only the taste; it really tasted great, but there was not the clients weren't there. Yeah. So, but I really wanted to have the coffees to show the clients to kind of increase the needs for that coffees. So it was kind of risky, but on the other side, I focused on the roasting the coffees better, and so I got lots of experience. That was a good thing.
Yeah, big investments, and that's something I think we hear all over the world. You got to jump in. Sometimes you got to show what you have and what you can do, and you got to have faith and work really hard with your customers to kind of get there. And now with your experience and with your name and with that win, I think things are of course looking up, and hopefully more people will jump in and will take those risks. And we have seen it around the globe. It works, and I'm also always very happy when I see it in developing countries, for example, where there's also people who are interested in pushing that going on to competitions, or even doing a local roasting competition, which is very, very hard. They might not have a machine available, so someone opens the roastery and say, well, let's get together here and let's roast all together. It's even like a very community creating and it's a lovely event from that perspective, and still a competition.
Yep.
That was really great to see on the competition side that people are really kind of still working together somehow. Of course, you don't tell your super secrets if there are some, but if somebody didn't understand the rules somehow, people helped me out, and in Taipei, so I did the same in Milan, and really friendly people around in the coffee scene. That's really nice to see all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, I can second that. 15 years in the industry, and I'm very happy to be where we are, and very happy to be in that specific industry. I think there's a lot of really good people around, and ultimately that's, to me at least, what makes it or breaks it. And the coffee.
This is true. Oh yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, no, a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation moving forward. Thank you so much, Felix. It's a pleasure to have you on and
You're welcome.
And learn a lot about your experience. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again for the invitation.
Thank you, Felix. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here, and thanks for doing all the good work you do. And we looked at the outlook already. I'm very excited about what's coming.